Good evening, everyone.
Hi.
How is everybody?
Good. Are you in Costa Rica?
No, I'm at home. I had late meeting and my wife kind of expects to have dinner ready when she gets home. So
Oh, all right. She trained you. Hello,
Hey.
I missed you Friday and Saturday night.
Where was it?
I don't know where you was.
Where was you?
I was at graduation.
Oh, wow. I was telling him, I didn't think you were to go to that.
You enjoyed it.
No, I just thought we couldn't, do it.
You have to go sit on the field.
Yeah, but that's out of my.
So was Easton?
I wanted to hand out diplomas.
When was?
That was my whole reason getting on the board.
You know, they may never let us do that.
I know.
We're so crazy now.
Yeah.
I don't know, everybody's so scared.
Well, the governor told me to stay at home.
That thick black book of mine says that was the point of my bounds.
Mostly a blessing.
I know.
Told me that if you're over 65,
That's
and you have
around,
underlying health
of course, I mean,
conditions,
it's different, but
you need to stay at home unless you absolutely need to
good
get out.
call, you know,
So I guess I
from
absolutely need
man.
to get out.
But he, with the first
Yeah,
semester, I
my
went
dad
to
did.
I'm still one of them guys that believes that when I go and I get up there, God is not gonna stay. Well, I didn't see that coming. This was a surprise, Bob. We didn't expect you to die.
And we've experienced some stories
I had
like
great
that.
parents. I wasn't afraid
I'm
to
sorry,
lie.
I just.
It's just that kind of
I
like.
can't be scared.
So
I'm not scared, I'm just cautious.
First just went
And
on
then
college.
today was the first time that I've seen the governor and his people with masks on. But they're
He was
just
off
on.
to the Navy.
Right.
But
The
this
governor
is
of Texas,
Yes.
he worked for the
Easton
state.
and Wilson.
Huh?
beat
Me?
all in one
Yeah.
round.
Oh, you saw us on
On
TV?
TV.
Easton was there.
I was
He
like-
has a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
He was
No,
easier
we're-
to kind of arrange.
I work for Linda.
And they brought all their stuff home from college. and it was just kind of tight in the house.
It's kind of like,
So now
my
we're-
brother thought when I got on school, I was gonna get paid.
You do get a meal, well, they get a meal a month.
And Bowen had just moved in with Tiger.
Now we don't get that. I said,
Not a
not
bad
very
thing.
spicy
He did
pork
that
rinds.
nice one.
Yeah.
Mm.
He lived with another Cody for something.
Russell called up, she interrupted my dinner.
Worse.
I should lock the door, roll the window on my truck so then nobody steal my pork rinds.
Please don't go back down.
How's, you talking about Desire, how she,
So it's against.
they had a good first year. So they shut down.
I saw Desire right at the break, and she thought she was going back to school for Walmart. with her mom. I had seen her one other time with her family. She was working at Walmart, and then somebody said she was working at Sonic also.
So they didn't get good playoffs in.
Good.
They didn't, no,
They didn't finish the school, the high school did.
What? Being a fourth grade,
that was Isaiah's year.
Did Terry graduate this year?
Mhm.
Yeah, they went 2 races right there.
So Ken's the only one out?
He told us the other night.
Okay.
Here.
But.
Yeah. There he is.
Got done a lot earlier.
There he is.
So is he,
This is Bruce. I'm here.
There's Bruce
All
is
right,
here.
Bruce.
I don't know how Arkansas certification is.
And I thought, I was talking to Jaden about, diet, and I said, she didn't realize they weren't going back to school, and she said, well, you know, they said their spring break was a week after ours, and she said, they may have thought at the time that they were gonna go back to school, but
There you go, David.
Thank you, sir.
Linda. David, if you don't mind, why don't you bring that demographer's report up first? Let him
Okay.
Go ahead and do his thing.
All right.
And then demographic study. It's an information item, but if you don't mind moving that up, we'll get to that.
Okay. What is he on?
Be on the information.
Oh, okay.
Same we did with before. I don't know if that's changed. Deal with attorneys. Now, for some reason, Trent has not logged on. We'll go on through the agenda and let him come down the road a little bit, but I think he will. Bruce is on there, I see.
Yeah.
Your hair looks great.
Thank you.
That's good.
Cyber security training, wasn't that due by June the 14th?
I don't know when it's due. The board has to go through that too.
I don't think
You
so.
going through the same stuff we went through?
It was June 14th. We did not have.
Oh, okay.
It was a little, it was a little wishy-washy on whether it was required for board or not. The last word that we had for TA was that, the last word that I'm aware of was that it was only required for people who had email addresses from the schools and board members do not. So we just.
All right. Thank you.
I'll tell you what.
Okay, well, so
You dodged the bullet.
Thanks for clarifying it, because I've been on TEA website looking for it, but I thought it had to be done by other people.
See, I just jumped in there and did it. I didn't know you had a test at the end of it. You had to pass. You have to make a 7 on test. I'm gonna tell you, it's not an easy test.
There was crazy about the whole situation is that it was required by the state, but there's absolutely no penalty for not doing it. So.
Yeah.
Like a lot of things.
Really?
So if they come back and say that you're supposed to have done it, there's no
So
penalty.
Henry, what did you
So
score?
we're okay until next year.
All right, thanks.
So you're not gonna
I
affect.
made a 78 on it.
You're not gonna affect that
But
letter
you can
grade.
take it as many times as you want to, and there's several that took it more than 3 or 4 times. And then the thing about it, I didn't think it'd gonna be a test, because they test you as you go through it. You have to, in order to go to another module, you've got to,
Cybersecurity.
and I'll tell you, I sat down at about 4 o'clock, and I said, well, I'll get this thing done by 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
takes longer.
It took me 3 times.
There's,
Some of it is pretty good
We had to
for
do-
school people, some of
But
it is
it's
really
probably-
not. Pro.
it's on
We had to do sexual harassment, we had to do civil rights, some of that stuff we had to do every year.
this is one that's on sex trafficking
So.
that the board has to do.
All of it.
Yes.
Who is?
I'm not planning on doing no second.
Oh.
Carl, you did send
I did.
Trent Smith.
I is, but we
The
went
link.
to it, remember that 7 o'clock?
in the room yet. I mean, he's-
We have ours, yeah,
He's already paying.
no, how much you paying?
How much you want? When does it have to be done by?
Well, they extended that deadline till,
I think that's
Did I-
against
did I miss
some
it?
board
No,
rule.
sorry.
if you never look at TEA stuff, then you
never
probably
looked at
did, or TASB stuff, you probably missed it.
I probably didn't.
There's, I mean,
Right,
there's no penalties for not.
yeah.
It's just like that deal at the
Yeah, I
end of the
would,
year.
I'll
when
tell you what.
They call out your names if you did all your training.
It's all,
If there happens
I
to be.
thought it was gonna be
report or
about
your name
45
on the
minutes
newspaper,
long.
and that's it.
it's got, what, 12 modules?
You don't want that.
And some of them are fairly short, most of them are 12 to 14 minutes. So, and then you get to the end, it says, here's a test. But I had no idea it was gonna test you, boys.
It was thankfully one of the shorter
Yeah.
trainings. There were several that were approved and some of the trainings.
Yeah, that's tracking thing. We went,
We did go with one of the shorter.
got up early that
That
morning and got
session,
it,
yeah.
but I took it again because I
Well,
wasn't sure, but it's the same
supposedly
stuff.
Citizens a hotspot out by the.
It is.
truck stop. Yeah.
But I have 32 hours.
And my
of
son, every
training.
time he goes back to Tyler to goes to work, he's got to sign a piece of paper that he didn't come in any contact with any known virus.
No, I'm talking about secretary.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about that because they do. They have a form with this company and we're one of the hotspots here in Denison
Yeah,
or in Grayson County, actually.
Really? Because of, is it because of?
Tyson,
Dennison is a hot spot.
Tyson.
Grayson County
Grayson
as a
County
whole
has
is a
it.
hotspot.
Because of Tyson chicken.
And
Well, that's a
Reese
lot
never
of them, Tyson, that-
released their numbers.
Yeah, but they've,
Reese.
you heard all those that they're finding in the jail now that's got it, that test positive?
47,
Yeah, inmates.
47 inmates.
And there's like
How do you
three.
deal with that? Turn them loose?
Yes, keep the,
How you gonna isolate all of those?
keep the contact and, you know, they're doing their best, but that's about it.
We need more cases. That makes that death rate.
You know, okay.
Yeah.
It's 6.
We do. I mean, that's.
David, I think it's about time.
Yep, looks like it. All right, I call this meeting of the Denison Independent School District Board to order. Let the record show that there's a quorum of board members present and its meeting has been duly called and the notice of the meeting has been posted in accordance to Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. All the board members here. Everybody's here. Welcome to this next session. The role of the Board of Trustees, board is, meetings are a public meeting of the Board of Trustees, not a meeting of the public. Day-to-day operations of the school district and the function of the superintendent. But he or she must do so within the framework of the policies and procedures and priorities adopted by the Board of Trustees. Let's stand and give the pledge of allegiance to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dr. Kirkbride.
Pray with me. Father God, we want to begin our time this evening by just thanking you for the opportunity to be here, for the privilege to live and to work and to serve this community, this district. Father, in spite of the health crisis, we're thankful that we have been able to successfully and safely bring our school year to a close, and we're thankful for so many part of our district and this community that have made that possible. Father, tonight we are especially mindful of the social turmoil that is occurring across our nation. So tonight we pray for our leaders at every level, that you'll give them strength, that you'll give them wisdom, and most importantly, the courage that they need during these most tentative times. Father, bless our meeting tonight. May all the decisions that are made be made in the best interest of our students and community. We pray all these things through Jesus.
Amen.
Kyle, did we have anybody sign that under patrons for
No, it didn't.
they have to sign it at 4 o'clock?
Board vision statement, Denison Independent School District will inspire, enable, and encourage all students to learn, grow, and succeed in a global society. Board comment?
Well, I was excited to attend the graduation ceremony for Pathways and the district. I thought the speeches of the young people were just incredible. It was impressive. It was just well done, and I was just proud of the kids and the parents and the way that they all, their behavior was impeccable, and they were, of course, excited. I think they were thrilled that they got to walk, and that was exciting for us to see too. And I just thought it was really impressive, and I was really proud to be there. So I love watching Pathways, because those kids that really, they've overcome a lot to be there, so they just are thrilled to death. And so it's always exciting for me to watch that.
Linda?
I'd just like to commend the district on the graduation ceremonies during this troubling time. I thought it was well planned, with a few exceptions. But we made it through, and I think and hope that the students that graduated were pleased that we were able to do it like they wanted or similar. And I thought it was great.
I have to say the same thing, the graduation, being able to have a public graduation, obviously that was what we wanted. It was nice to see that the district was able to accommodate that. We appreciate your staff and all the hard work that went into make sure the chairs were placed properly. We were out there building the stage for Music on Main, the guys from Four Rivers, and spent a couple days out there, and I noticed you had some of your staff was out there putting marks on the sidewalk for the graduates to stand in line and those sorts of things. So it took some extra work this year, but I do think they appreciated it. It was nice for them to be able to see that the community can come together and make a decision like that to move forward, do what we thought was best. So.
Kim?
Yeah, I just want to say I received a lot of positive feedback from numerous parents on how excited their kids were to be able to participate in that ceremony. So I just want to give kudos to everyone involved and pulling that off. It was awesome.
Bruce?
Yeah, I think that was truly an inspirational move. That in all my life, I never would have dreamed that I would have been part of a graduation exercise that had to be orchestrated such as this one was, and had to be kind of semi-remote. Well, it was remote, but still yet the persons that organized and supervised, they deserve a big thanks, because that's tough to do, and you know, the kids, of course, I think the kids were probably least impacted by anybody. I watched them do those car drive-bys on television, and it seemed like to me the least stressed of all the people there were the students. That's good, because that's what it's all about anyway.
And really, there's not much more I could say other than, you know, it went off without a hitch, and everybody behaved themselves, and it was great. No problem. So action items 10A, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Do I have a motion?
Move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any discussion? Yeah, well, you know. All right, the ayes have it. Right now, we're going to switch a little bit and bring up 11A.
I don't think he's online.
Oh, is he?
Is he?
He is? Okay.
Yeah.
Denison ISD demographer study presentation. Dr. Scott.
I just want to introduce to you Trent Smith, who was the person responsible for doing the demographic study. And we did a review of it a couple of weeks ago, and so he's here tonight to make the presentation.
So I'd like to do a mic test real quick, make sure you guys can hear me. Can you hear me?
Me?
Yeah, we got you now.
Okay. Just want to make sure. So I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you guys tonight, members of the board, the superintendent. These are definitely strange times, and so we take these measures to make sure everybody stays safe. And I appreciate the opportunity to.
Trent, you faded out on us.
Phased out?
Yeah, we got a bad
Yeah.
connection or something.
Let's see.
Uh-oh.
Are you there?
Yes.
Okay, I'll get up close to the mic and maybe that's the difference. So I'll just jump right into this and get started, and then we'll, if the audio goes back out, just let me know. There we go. All right, so the impacts of COVID-19 obviously are incredibly difficult to follow. They're very fluid.
Hey, Trent.
Trent, this is Scott Harris from Technology. I think we're gonna have you dial in by phone. We
Okay.
do have a connection with you, but it's very muffled. We can't tell what you're saying.
Okay,
Do you have the phone connection information available, or do you need me to send it to you?
go ahead and send it to me. I'm not sure that I have it.
Okay, do you have his email address? Okay. Trent, can you send me an email real quick so that I can reply back with that information?
Sure.
My email address is kharris@denisonISD.net.
Just send it to you.
How long would it take to do that?
Just a second.
Okay.
Look at that waiver, President Fowler waiver.
I just called it audio.
Want to go ahead and do that?
We can do the two and then we'll get.
Okay, let's go back up to 2B1. Consider resolution that authorizes the superintendent to request waivers from TEA during the COVID-19 pandemic. Dr. Scott.
During the two and a half months we were closed, we missed some deadlines that are required. Because we weren't in school, we couldn't meet the deadlines, and as a result of that, we're gonna have to do several waivers to ask the state to waive it. You did one last month on the appraisal and evaluation system. But what this resolution does is that the board is delegating to the superintendent the opportunity to present the waivers to Commissioner of Education. And then once we get through this thing, the board will have to come back and approve each one of them separately. So you're giving me the authority to ask for the waivers, but ultimately you guys will have to approve. So I would ask that you approve the resolution.
Do you have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion?
Henry, you already know how many waivers you'll have to request approximately.
I think it's about 7, don't you think, David? We've already asked for one. I think
Kind of
it's
already
6
know
more.
you kind of already know what you're gonna have to do, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Wow.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. 10B2, consider approving the attestation statement that we were provided instruction during the days missed on the result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Dr. Scott.
We're just certifying that we did in fact offer instruction during the time of closure. By doing that, we're able to, for the days missed, by doing that, we're able to draw state funding. So this is just a guarantee by the district that when we were closed, we did provide instruction and resources to our parents. Has to be signed by the superintendent and the board president. I'd ask you to approve that.
You have a motion?
Motion.
Any, or a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. We ready for the demographer? Okay, Dr. Scott.
Well.
Lead off
we'll
into it, or-
introduce Trent Smith again.
Okay, all right.
And as soon as we get the audio worked out, we'll have a presentation. I don't know what happened. Came through clear.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
You bet.
Okay,
Okay,
that's much
that's
better.
much better, I think.
Yeah, you'll need to mute your computer, Fran, please. Return the.
There we go. Okay,
We got you.
sorry about that. All right, so let's start over. How about that? So appreciate the opportunity to come on tonight. You know, the COVID-19 has definitely caused some unprecedented issues in not just in our school system, but all across our society. It's ever changing. It's very fluid. You know, in April, we went from one of the lowest unemployments in more than 50 years up to the highest unemployment in more than 50 years in just a matter of a week. And so we went from, you know, the low 5% all the way up to almost 20%. And that number has shifted a little bit. We kind of got a little bit back last week, but still, you know, very, very high unemployment at the moment. 30 million Americans have filed for unemployment between March and April, and the GDP continues to struggle over the time. The national, we're forecasted to hit that 28% down from the previous year in the GDP. And so, most of the economists have been expecting kind of a sharp drop and then come back with a sharp increase or a V-shaped recovery. But it looks like most of what we're seeing now is going to take a little longer than that. It's kind of the Nike swoosh version where it's going to be a nice incline back, but it's still going to take some time. When we look specifically at what's going on within Texas, you can see that, you know, we also had our share of those unemployment claims. And we went from almost, you know, very, very below 50,000 claims up to over 437,000 claims in just a 1 month period. Good news is the Dallas-Fort Worth area is considered one of the lowest risk markets in the country. And so that's good news for us. Austin is also in that group of low risk markets. The high risk market, though, when you look at Houston, not in such a great place just because of where the oil prices are right now and how tied they are to that energy market. They're going to struggle a little more. They're kind of getting a little bit of a double whammy right now. We are lower unemployment than the rest of the country. So when others are hitting that, 15 to 20%, we're more in that 10 to 12% right now. We're ranked 6th best state in the nation. And so overall, we're still hurting, but we're better than most. Let's just put it that way. We do host 5 of the top 10 most recession-resistant cities. We mentioned before Austin, Denton, Plano, and Frisco, and then Lubbock all are in that top 10 as far as most recession-resistant cities in the country. So what does the unemployment really look like right now? It's a really difficult discussion. There's so many factors and so many different ways that we can, quantify what unemployment really is right now. The overall unemployment, as far as initial job claims, has been, up above 25%. But when you take out the adjusted for furloughs, those who believe they're going to get their jobs back within the next couple of months, that goes, drops back down to that 10%. So what does that really mean? It really means we're probably somewhere in the middle of that. So we're in that 15 to 20% total unemployment at the moment. When we look specifically at the Sherman-Denison MSA, or the Metropolitan Statistical Area, they've had a job loss of about 15%, almost 15.6%. And then your unemployment has gone up over the last, 8.3% up. So it was down at just below 3% coming into this COVID. And now it's up to about 11.2%. So you've had a significant jump. But like I said, that 11.2 is still better than the national rate of about 14.4. The annual home sales is down from last year, about 500 fewer than in April of 2018. We do expect that's kind of expected. We are seeing fewer and fewer homes for sale, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go along. Some positive things that are happening within the Denison area. Gateway Village economic growth has, put in for this master plan development that continues. You've got, the Heyday and the Culvers and Urban Air and all these are continuing to put these, open these businesses. And so we do expect, Heyday is going to add 120 employees, Culver's Hamburgers, another 60, Urban Air, another 80. And then we've got a couple of more coming down the way within that Gateway Village. So some very positive economic things happening inside the Sherman-Denison area. So we also look at housing, obviously. Talking to most developers and the construction group, you can see that, about 80% are, most of the developers and builders out there believe that they're going to hit at least 80% of their original plan for 2020. And one of the things that we are seeing is that housing market is more of a V-shaped recovery than it is a swoosh. It's coming back much faster, and that's really very apparent in the new home market, whereas the existing home market is down a little bit more. They're down about 11% over last year, and that's because people are a little less, a little less used to having strangers in their homes, and so they're just not quite ready for people to come in and look at their homes. So they're kind of putting any house selling plans on hold. So the number of listings has dropped for existing homes. And then also people are less likely to want to go into a stranger's home where, if they're going to go in and look at a brand new home, they feel a little bit better about going and making that visit. And so it's actually helping, a little bit in that new home market where it's really starting to hurt in that existing home market. When you look overall though, the, contractors are about 50-50, and they've seen some increases in their sales. And then also, only about 18 to 20% have seen actually decreases in their sales in the new home market. So there is a little bit of silver lining in there that new home housing market is going to help us, kind of pull this economy back into place. So we also start with a little bit of history in your enrollment. And so this bar graph here is the blue bars are your total enrollment history over time. That orange line that you see is your percentage growth during that time. So you did have a year of negative back in 2016-17, and that's that significant drop there in the middle. But overall, you can see you've had a steady increase back since 2011 all the way through 2019-20. You've had increases in your total enrollment. This last year, you grew about 27 kids, and the table above shows kind of that history by grade. You can see the largest class of each year in yellow, and the second largest class is in green. One of the things I wanted to point out to you this year is that your largest class is your kindergarten class. And that was a huge increase from the previous year. Almost 60 kids swing from the 329 you had last year to the 388 that you had this year. And again, these are all from October snapshot. And so this is the last Friday in October. All these numbers represent that last Friday in October. So we also look at trends when we look at your enrollment history. And so the table above is the same one that you saw in the previous slide. The second one is your cohorts. And so that's how many kindergartners became first graders, how many first graders became second graders. And so that kind of moves at a diagonal line across this table downward towards the orange. So I've circled that kindergarten cohort because for the last 3 years, you had been at a negative growth. So you'd had, about 3% drop or 2% drop in your kindergarten class from the previous year. But this year you went up almost 18% from your previous kindergarten year. So that was a significant increase in the number of students. And so, over the last 3 years, you've grown about 250 students in, from elementary or early ed all the way through high school. When you look at what's been going on around the state, this is a heat map that shows 1 year enrollment change. And there's a definite triangle there that goes from the DFW market all the way down through Austin to San Antonio, and then back over to Houston, and then back up to Dallas. That's really the major triangle of growth. We did see some growth out there in the Midland, Odessa area, but depending on the price of oil, that one can change from dark green to yellow year by year. And so we did grow about 62,000 kids overall compared to the previous year's total enrollment. So that was a nice jump. We've seen about 4 years of decrease in total, I shouldn't say in total enrollment. We've seen a decrease in the amount of change. We were kind of cruising along at about 80,000 kids a year. And then the millennials came into childbearing years and kind of stopped having kids there for a while. And so the numbers that you see in that decline in enrollment change kind of comes from low birth rates. And one of the reasons I wanted to bring this up is because, there's been a lot of joking going around about the COVID crisis and how we're going to see this increase in the number of births since everybody's told to stay home and be together. But in actuality, we're probably expecting that to be the opposite. We're actually expecting that to be a birth rate decrease over that time by probably a pretty significant number over the next 12 months. And part of that is people stop having kids in a recession. They think that there's, as far as their financial situation, they slow down and they take a second look and decide that it's not the right time to have kids. And then you've also got the safety of wondering if, is this a good time with a global pandemic in place? Is this a good time to have kids? And so I think we're going to kind of see a double whammy there where we're going to have a significantly lower birth rate through the end of 2020 and through 2021. When you look at what's been happening in total enrollment trends throughout regions 10 and 11, you guys have grown 206 kids over the last 5 years from 2014 through this year. It's about a 4.5% increase. You can definitely see where in some of the urban areas where they have matured out so that their housing isn't keeping up with the amount of growth. So they're in those yellow areas like Dallas ISD, Fort Worth ISD, Arlington, and now even in Plano and Louisville, they're graduating more seniors than they are having kindergartners. And so that they can't overcome that because they don't have enough housing growth to bring in more numbers. What's happening in a lot of that, obviously, is that you can see that ring around those metropolitan areas where most of the growth is. So those suburban areas are really starting to really grow during that time. When you look specifically what's been going on with the demographics inside the district boundary, so this is specifically inside the district boundary for total population, you've grown almost 15% from 27,500 up to 31,600. Very similar growth in your district households with 13.9%, and then your below age 19 is up 15.6%. So all those have grown since the 2010 census data. We're looking forward to next year when we have all the 2020 census data. That's going to be one of the most interesting census data that we've ever been able to look at. From a demographer standpoint, it's unbelievably exciting to kind of see what all of these things are going to, what kind of role all this stuff plays and how that population trend ends up. You've also increased your overall median household income up almost 30% from 38,000 back in 2010 up to over 49,000 in 2019. So what's been going on in the housing market? Your sales are up a little bit, and this is back through April, and so this doesn't reflect your May numbers. And so we have seen a decrease in those May numbers a little bit. Your average home price is up 2.3% and your median home price of 2.5%, and your existing home inventory is down a little bit. But, you know, as I said, what we've seen in the last month and a half is a major slowdown in that existing home market. And so that's going to significantly be different, say, you know, looking in the second quarter versus the first quarter as we continue to gather up that data. This is also looking specifically inside the Denison ISD boundary line. You know, very positive things happening in your new home market. Just 3 years ago, or let's go 4 years ago to 2015, according to deed transactions, according to the county, we only had 3 new homes in 2015 that were built and considered new home markets. When you go to all the way up to 2019, you've grown by 100 in that category. So you've gone from 3 to 103. That's the red part of that bar graph that you see up there. And so that's a significant increase, obviously. You've continued to increase year over year from 2018 through 2019, a little over 1,000, you know, existing home sales during that time. And then also, you know, your number of distressed homes, or your REOs and your foreclosures have significantly gone down to less than 70. When you look at just a few years ago, those were up over 200. When you look at the average home price, and, you know, again, I mentioned that there were very few new homes back in 2015. So that kind of skewed your average new home sale back then. So it looks like one or two of those homes were actually very expensive homes. And so back then you had a $263,000 average sale. But again, that was only on 3 homes. But you can see after that, it kind of got to a more normal averages where you were at 180 in 2016, up to 210,500 in 2019. As far as your existing home price has gone from up 37%, or almost $50,000 difference, from 130 back in 2015 up to almost 180 in 2019. So this is an overview map of the district showing you where your active and future subdivisions are. Those green subdivisions, or those green land areas that you see on this map, are your active subdivisions. The yellow are your future subdivisions. And so when you look at that right now, you've got about 130 lots that are ready to build on. So we call those vacant developed lots. So you could start, you know, laying a foundation down there today. They've got streets and they've got streets and utilities, everything ready to go. Then you've got another 500 future planned lots that are somewhere between raw land and that vacant developed lot specification. And so, you know, right now you've got about at least a year and a half worth of you know, vacant developed lots, with plenty of future developed lots coming in right behind it. We're going to look at those specifically at what's going on inside the district right now. So I'm going to not read every one of these bullets, but I'm going to kind of highlight some of these. Greenway Parks, 59 total lots there. They're building 15 to 25 homes a year. And right now their current student yield is about a 0.25. So that means about 25 kids for every 100 homes. When you look at Saddle Creek is 55 total lots there. They're all, you know, half-acre or more lots. And they've got 10 vacant developed lots with 10 places ready to build on. And they've got another 38 lots in the design stage. Right now they're building about 2 to 5 homes a year. And there's only 6 homes that are occupied, and currently those didn't have any students in them, according to our last geocode. When you look at Fawn Meadows, 130 total lots there with 44 vacant developed lots, 94 homes in there occupied. They've been building about 40 to 50 homes a year, and their current student yield is about a 0.34. So much higher yield coming out of there than out of the other 2 subdivisions right there next door. When you look at Westlake Townhomes, 12 future townhomes there, and that was approved back in January. We do expect them to start, we expect they've already started there, and the first residence expected in mid-2021. Then when you look at Waterloo Estates, 16 total lots, you know, 4 vacant developed lots there, 11 homes occupied. They're building 1 or 2 homes a year, and their student yield is about a 0.54, and so they're a much higher yield. So you're basically in that neighborhood, you're getting a little more than a kid for every 2 homes. At Pioneer Ridge, 157 total lots there, with 142 of those still in the future stages. No plans right now on that second, on the future section, and their current yield is only about a 0.14. The reserve at Gateway Village, that's part of that Gateway Village, commercial area that we discussed earlier. They have 242 future lots to build on there. The master plat is currently under review with the city, and Highland Homes will be the primary builder there, but there's no specific time frame yet on exactly when they should get started. Oak Hollow is part of that, also part of that. They have about 50 to 60 future lots there. Again, on all of these that are part of that master plan, they're still working on some of the development, so no exact time frame as of yet. So Katy Trails, same thing, about 20 acres there. No exact totals even yet on that. They're still working on the development plan, but we do want to point these things out as they will come into play in the not so distant future. When you look, we also look at multifamily. Right now, there's about 1,200 total existing multifamily units within the district. There's about 128 units that are currently under construction, and you have about 96 future multifamily units that are in the planning stages across the district. So we featured this one. This is the one that's under construction, 128 units. They're getting pretty close to completion, and they anticipate to be available this summer for leasing. When we look at the future that's out there, 276 total units at the residents of Gateway Village. And so they've got 180, that are open for leasing, 96 futures, and that are expected to be, construction to start anytime this summer. We also look at, the multifamily yield, kind of figure out what we can expect from those future multifamily units. Right now, there are currently about 355 students residing in your 1,200 multifamily units. And then, so that puts you at about 0.301. And it's actually a little lower than that because we included also the mobile home park. That's that red one at the very top of this map, that red outlined area. And so that's above a 0.75. That's actually a mobile home park. And so those also get kind of treated like multifamily units when they're in a concentrated area like that. And so we also look at your student density. This is your student density map showing you where your students live. So each one of those dark blue dots is representing a student. Yeah, right now you have about 152 that are currently living outside the district. That's only about 3.2% of your student population. So likely that's mostly, employee children. About 81% of your student population resides actually inside the city limits of Denison. That's a very, that's a significant number there, almost 81%. And so we also looked at your overall single family, multifamily, and manufactured home yields. You can see that your single family is about 0.35, your multifamily is about 0.29, and then your manufactured home is about 0.35 also. We also look at TA transfer reports. So this is the number of students transferring in and then the number of students transferring out. And so you've actually remained pretty steady over the last several years. And so this wasn't a significant factor in, how we kind of put together your enrollment forecast. But we do look at this to make sure that it isn't a significant factor. But you can see over the last 3 years, you've been pretty steady at both the transfers in and transfers out. So neither one of those played a significant role in how we put together our enrollment forecast. And so here's our regular, I put together 2 enrollment forecasts for you. And so looking at, kind of this unknown place that we're in with COVID. And so I wanted you to have a kind of a range of where we think you're going to be in the next few years. So this is what I would call your moderate or your normal 10-year forecast. We're expecting you to have, 65 kids next year, and then another 84 following that, kind of bouncing around that 60 to 70 kids a year if you average all that out over the next several years. But hitting 5,000 students out 2023, 24, and then, you know, hitting almost 5,500 students out in 29, 30. And when we compare that to our, let's take a look, first of all, at campuses. So at the campuses, you can see, you know, you've got Hyde Park, which is going to, you know, experience the most growth. That's where the most of that housing is. So hitting over 500 next year, and then growing up to almost 600 in 2024, and then hitting 700 out in 2028, 29. And then you've got, you know, also Mayors also growing there from, you know, hitting almost 500 next year, definitely over 500 in 2021, and then kind of leveling out a little bit as they'll, even though they do have some housing growth, it's going to kind of level out, and it's not near as significant as what you're seeing in Hyde Park. At the intermediate level, you know, at McDaniel, you're at 736 right now. Basically, you're going to hit that 745 number for the next 3 years. You do have a small class coming in after that, but then replacing it with a much larger class. And then you're going to kind of start seeing some of that growth come in from these larger groups. And so you're going to see, you know, hit 800 kids out in 2025, and then almost 840 out in 2029. At Henry Scott, you're at 711 this year, and then, you know, hitting 770 in 2023, and then hitting over 800 out in 2027. At the high school, you're at 1,300, maintaining that 1,320 basically for the next couple of years, and then hitting 1,350 out in 2022, and then 1,400 out in 2024, and then getting up pretty close to 1,500 out there in 2029. When we look at that, you know, taking a little bit slower pace due to the COVID and to kind of wanting you to be prepared either way, depending on how the economy rolls as we move forward. You know, instead of 60, you know, hitting that 60 number next year, growing about 41 students, and then having that average kind of drop to that 50 to 60 total kids a year over the next several years. And so basically this is just a little bit of contrast. It would push that 5,000, you know, that 5,000 number out. You're still going to hit 5,000 in 2023. And then, you know, be just a little over 5,400 out in 2029. And then these are just those same a little bit lower numbers that we would say is the low version of the forecast for moving forward for all your elementary and middle and high schools. And so I think these are all going to be better numbers that you review, you know, in person, you know, with those in front of you on a piece of paper. And so are there any questions as we get to the end of the presentation?
Trent, not a question, but will you provide us with some bound hard copies where I can make the board, make it available to the board?
Absolutely, we can get those to you somehow.
Yeah, I'd like to have about 25 of them, where we could, if you can do that for us. We are principals, I mean, and somebody in the community might have. If you can do that, that'd be great. Excellent job.
Okay, I bet we can make that happen.
You know, one of the things, just for conversation with the board, we can easily balance out Hyde Park and Mays.
Mm-hmm.
There's 100 students we can move from Hyde Park to Mays, but we moved 100 out of Mays to Hyde Park. It's everything west of 75 and north of Crawford. That was it 5 years ago, before we closed Lane and Golden Rule. That area was Mays. But to balance out the two campuses, we were taking in Lane into Mays. We moved that 100 students or so from that zone to Hyde Park. It's actually closer to Mays than it is Hyde Park. That's the same, but a little shorter, not much. But we could easily balance that out. But there's other areas there we have concerns about.
It certainly gives us some stuff to start working.
Yeah. And I think once we kind of get smoothed out on this virus, sometime it's best to do that face to face. I don't think doing Zoom meetings with a committee has worked at all. Scott, having served on the committee, I think you'd agree that it's best to get people in the room together. So I've talked with the architect about working out a schedule, start this next year sometime, and completing that thing in time to make whatever decisions the board needs to make. Trent, great job.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate, again, the opportunity to speak to you guys tonight. I wish I was there in person. If, you know, when you guys get ready to make any of those attendance zone adjustments, we can help you with that service if you need it. So we'll be here whenever and however you need us to help.
Does any of the board have any questions for Mr. Smith? Okay, thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
11B personnel, Dr. Kirkbride.
Yes, you've got your, in your board package, you've got the personnel report. Just one employee I want to just take a moment to highlight is John Terry.
John Terry, oh my God.
John Terry, if I've got my numbers correct, has been in the district since 1970, which he's completed 49 years in Denison. He did, I believe, 3 years in Sherman, beginning in 1965. He had a couple of years in the military. He's been serving students in communities for 53, 54 years. You know, he was hopeful to take to make it one more year, but because of the circumstances, he felt like it was best for he and his wife to go ahead and step down. So it's a huge understatement to say that he'll be missed. But I wanted you guys to be aware of that if you weren't already. Another just bit of information over the past couple of months, you may have noticed in your personnel report, in your packets, that we started with about 6 unassigned teachers at the elementary level, and we have placed all but one of them. So we're on a good pace, kind of planned well for that. And then just kind of another note that's not necessarily part of your personnel report here is that Brian Eves has put together what he calls a video vault. It's on the front of our webpage. I would encourage y'all to go and look at that. There's 2 or 3 different types of presentations there. One of them is our end of year video, which highlights our retirees, our service pin recipients, our rookie of the year, paraprofessionals of the year. And obviously we didn't have the opportunity to have the end of year ceremony like we normally would. So I'd encourage you guys to go look at that so you can see who all those people are. A couple other videos in there, again, not personnel related, but the scholarships. Our students earned over $3 million worth of scholarships. So you may want to look at that. And our Scholars Among Us presentation is also there. And that was just touching to see the students make their own videos and make their own statements to the teachers. Watched that a couple of different times at Brian's office. It's just emotional to hear the good things that those kiddos had to say about those teachers. So I want to share all that with you guys.
Okay, 11C, School Health Advisory Committee, Dr. Kirkbride.
Also in your board packet, you'll see this report from the School Health Advisory Committee. I am not part of the committee, but I have talked with Regina Prigge and Jerry Bone. You can see the highlights there in your packet. I also have the minutes from each of the 3 meetings that they had this year. They were able to have 2 of those meetings face to face. So the last meeting in May was held via Zoom. Some really important things that they've talked about. So if you have any specific questions, I believe Regina Prigge may be available to answer questions you may have. I'm not sure if she's on board, but it's laid out pretty well there in your packet. That committee, I'll just say, they take their responsibility and their task very seriously, which I appreciate that. It's not just they don't go through formalities, just to go through the process. They're very serious about the things they discuss.
Dr. Scott, you have any comments?
Let me share with you about reopening the school. we've had a lot of discussion and planning. You may remember that we signed on to a resolution asking the state to allow us to have a hybrid instructional management program, meaning some parents that may not feel comfortable sending their kids to school, let them do at-home online instruction under the guidance of the teacher. And then other students that the parents feel comfortable, there will be a place for them at school. And I think we've really improved the product. It was new to us, and I think we've got a great format available to parents if they choose that. We're going to do a survey next week and find out how many parents might want to take us up on that. The commissioner, I've been on a conference call twice a week with the commissioner. Today, he said we're going to provide some funding for that program. He didn't say how much, but they really need to step up and do whatever the average ADA is, because we're already locked into a budget personnel. We've got people on contract. We've got obligations that need to step up and do that. And I think they will.
Here or teaching online. There's still gotta happen.
Yeah, we're still going to serve them. In fact, in some ways, it costs us more money because we're going to have to provide some resources to them. But the other thing, and we're going to get something out to parents next week. I know a lot of parents are wondering what's going on. We've already had some calls from parents. And we're going to just outline to them what we're doing. If we're able to do the hybrid program, I think we will be able to. We're going to make them aware of that. To get the survey done, and they would have an application stage to fill out, to request that. But the bigger issue, instruction is important, but safety is more important. So we're going to pull together a task force. The state is supposed to outline the state TEA guidelines on safety. I think that'll happen sometime in the next week to 10 days. And then once that's done, then we've already ordered a huge amount of supplies. Then we found out the state, which surprised me, they're providing this for something like 43,500 face masks, 444 gallons of disinfectant, and 35 non-contact thermometers. We'd already ordered 100 of them. We'd already ordered face masks, and we've got a lot of disinfectant. And I'm supposed to fill out a survey to the commissioner tomorrow. If we don't need all of that, then we can turn it down. We're gonna need all that. We're gonna say, we want our full allotment of it.
Cancel some of
But
the stuff
over the
we-
next, we're gonna get something out to parents on the website sometime, hopefully by the early part of next week. Just kind of outlining our planning on reopening and reassure them that we're gonna take care of them from an instructional standpoint, but even more so from a safety standpoint. And what we will do, we'll come up with a plan by talking with all departments. And then each campus will have to develop their own plan with the guidance from the district plan. Because all the campuses are different. The configuration of the campus, space allocations and things like that. And so hopefully by, say, the middle of July, we'll be able to put out a safety plan to parents and to the board, where you guys will know what we're doing. But we're going to do everything that's humanly possible to reassure our parents and our staff that we're going to keep them safe.
If we have too many of those masks and all this other stuff, are we eligible for the program that the feds are reimbursing some of the counties for, having to get all this stuff?
We're going to be
Are we having to
reimbursed
take-
some of the stuff we've already bought. We spend a lot of money on technology and that kind of thing.
Mhm.
We don't know how much, Randy, reimbursement we're going to get from that program, do we?
FEMA, we're getting FEMA and CARES.
We've applied for it, and we'll get some money from that. But that was a surprise that TEA stepped up and ordered all that stuff.
Now you just
That's a
gotta
real
get it.
plus.
You know, the teachers did a fantastic job with no notice. I suspect that teachers have been not sitting, but have been in the last few weeks figuring out how they're gonna do things even better next
Absolutely.
year. Because they don't idle, they're always
100%
thinking
no.
about how to make things better, so. I can't imagine that it won't be even better for those students who do take classes home next year than it was even the
I
last
think-
half of this year.
I think the challenge in my mind would be making sure those students at home are getting the quality
Right.
from, and the quality support, and that how will we hold them accountable for learning? You know, that kind of thing. My question is, if I, as a parent, I fill out that form and I want to keep my child home, can I change my mind later?
Oh, we've got
Is
to
that
provide
fluid?
transition. In fact, we haven't decided exactly how we're gonna assign those students. I think the secondary students have to be assigned to a schedule. Elementary kids, we're gonna have to decide whether we're going to assign to a teacher, or we're gonna be able to free a teacher that could deal with them online. Those things have not been worked
And
out.
that's gonna be a challenge, because if you do have students if a teacher's got all online students, and one of those students decides they want to come to the
Right.
class, where do they go? Who do they follow?
Well, and I know there were, it was rare, but I did hear of parents that just said, I'm not equipped, I'm not doing this, you know, good luck. And they
I totally
didn't,
get
and
that.
so and then there were some students that parents were right there by them,
Sure.
guiding and making sure things were done and check it off and let's get this done and you've got this, and other kids were not. So that's the hard part, I think, is
Well,
how
I
do you
think
fill in those
probably the
gaps?
parents that said that back here were elementary.
right.
Because we have a learning platform for secondary students. Shonda is working to put that same platform into place in the elementary schools. So I think the area I think it was weak in was assessment. We really didn't able to do a good job of assessing the growth of students in that area. I think we've got that covered. And we've learned a lot. Summer school is going to go very well. We're doing it all virtual, online, or I think online, all of it. I know it's online.
That's right.
We do it through the Google platform or through Zoom.
They're gonna use Schoology. Our Zoom was kind enough to give us free Zoom accounts, but those expire July 1st. Our school doesn't start after that. So, in lieu of paying for a Zoom subscription. As far as the content, that will all be done through.
But we're gonna keep you guys informed. The thing I think we can do is reassure parents that we're better equipped to deal with the at-home instruction. Now, it's not as good as being at school.
Right.
The relationship with the teacher and the socialization with other kids, that's an important thing in
Right.
education. And, you know, you don't have a whole lot of physical education at home unless the parent gets you out and runs you around the block. So I don't know, but I want to assure you that we're going to do a great job of planning. From the instructional standpoint, you can't have a better person than Shonda Cannon. I'll tell you that.
Absolutely.
And she'll do a great job with her staff. And we're going to do a great job on the safety part of it, working with our principals and with our maintenance people and custodial, and all of those people. But we'll get something out the early part of next week and copy you guys what we're doing, notifying parents, and David will put out a kind of blast to the parents and check our website. We got an update on our plans for reopening our schools in August. Want to reassure you, et cetera, that we're going to take care of your kids, both safety standpoint, instructional standpoint. So
At the elementary level, will they have a choice
go to
Yes.
school or not go to school.
Every level will have a choice whether to be in school or online. Now, I think maybe, I don't know that we can do kindergarten on the online program, can we, David? You think we can?
I don't, at an elementary level, I don't know how you could afford as a parent. Unless you don't work, I guess you sit home. get your
Well,
kids
and that,
schooled up.
and Scott, that's the issue.
It is.
I mean,
You know, we think we're a learning organization, but we're also a babysitting organization. I mean, there's a lot of parents can't afford to keep their kids at home. They got a job, especially single moms. So, yeah, they'll have a choice. We're not gonna say that,
Youth campus.
we would prefer they come to school, okay? But if they don't feel comfortable in doing that, we wanna provide an alternative.
Shawna said we are having kinder summer school online. So the kinder kids
Oh, we
are
are?
already
Good.
gonna be participating.
So I can assure you that it'll be well planned and we'll keep you guys informed of what we're doing. I didn't mean to take this much time, but I thought it was important we do this.
We're gonna go with, right now, we're gonna go with the calendar we already have set up.
Yeah, I think so. I don't see any reason to change the calendar. And then what might happen is this, say we get in school for about 2 months and that thing hits big time, we may have to shut down again. Hopefully it won't happen, but we've got to be prepared to do that in case that were to expire, in Grayson County to the point that we just couldn't afford to put our students and staff in that situation. So,
Well, Henry, if we have to go to a day-to-day thing on that, could we please get Dr. Hatfield to come back and make the phone calls?
well, now, I'll tell you what, this guy right here,
No, I told
don't
him last year.
underestimate him.
No, do you remember the year we had so many days in a row that we get those calls from George? I told him, I said, if we have a snow day, for the fun of it, we need to get George to come back and make that first
You
phone
know, I had
call.
made a couple of calls to individuals lately where they picked up the phone and I've just said, hello, this is David Kirkcraft from Denison. And there's this pause. I'm like, hello? And they're like, oh, I thought that was a recording. I know, it's the real me. So, yeah, I
Well,
was
see,
like,
the good part about it, if we did have to shut down in October, November, we could just stay online, still have
Yeah,
school.
just still have to do school. You
And
move
just
it
like we
online.
did the last 2.5 months of school. But we'll keep you guys informed about what's going on.
Okay, 13, going to be executive session. Under the authority of the Texas Open Meeting Act, Texas Government Code pursuant to section 551.071 and 551.0821 regarding pending litigation process hearing against the district. We'll adjourn this room and yeah. I'm efficient, you know? When you tell me to do something, we do it.
We're going down.
Yeah.
Ken's gonna second.
Go ahead, Bob, so let it be written, so let it be done. Mr. President, I move that we allow our attorney to continue negotiation and to try to work out a settlement, as we discussed in open session, and to authorize the superintendent or assistant superintendent to make the decision regarding that settlement offer.
Motion been made.
Second.
All, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, and we're adjourned. Excellent.
Thank you very much.